So you're playing a Ret Paladin or thinking of picking it up and want to have some fun in arenas and BGs? Get fluid with the rotation, know how to burst and know your talent builds? I got you covered on all that plus a lot more, so welcome to the new Ret Paladin PvP guide for 7.3.2. In this guide we'll be going through the Ret Paladin class overview, mechanics and abilities, normal talent build, honor talent build, and last but not least, rotation. You can skip to any of these categories in the description by clicking on the timestamp. By the way guys, if you're new to the channel, just know that here you'll get tons of HOTS and WoW content ranging from PvE and PvP guides, highlights and machinima, so hop on and subscribe for weekly videos. It's free! As a Ret Paladin in PvP, you are feared for your high amount of damage, lots of immunities, good cleave and off heals, and the utility you bring to your allies. You can help your teammates by removing their fears and stuns, you can protect them from melee damage, cleanse their poisons and diseases, and remove their slows. So it goes without saying, while focusing on doing damage with a clean rotation, you have to keep an eye out for your party all the time. Enemy players will not fear you for your lack of mobility, dispellable defensives, and lack of CC. So keep this in mind when going in arenas and BGs. To better understand how Ret Paladins work, here's a breakdown of the mechanics and abilities. Holy Power is our main resource and we generate it with spells like Zeal or Crusader Strike, Wake of Ashes from our weapon, and Blade of Justice. We can have a max of 5 Holy Powers. Zeal generates 1 Holy Power and Blade of Justice generates 2 of them but has a 10-second cooldown. We always consume 3 of our generated Holy Powers to be able to use our main damage abilities, which are Templar's Verdict and Divine Storm. There is one more damage ability that consumes all 5 Holy Powers and it's called Justicar's Vengeance, but we'll get to that in the talent section. In order to deal the biggest damage with your Holy Power spenders, you have to use Judgment, as this will apply an 8-second debuff to your target, which will increase the damage of Templar's Verdict, Divine Storm, and Justicar's Vengeance. Hammer of Justice is our only CC that stuns the target for 6 seconds in a max range of 10 yards. Hand of Hindrance is our slow and comes at a 30-second cooldown, but it does slow a target for 70%. Divine Steed is our sprint or gap closer. For 3 seconds you mount your charger and have your movement speed increased by 100%. Hand of Freedom grants immunity to all slows and roots and can be used on allies as well. Hand of Protection grants immunity to physical damage for 10 seconds and it can also be used on others but can be dispelled. After using this, you will get Forbearance for 20 seconds, meaning that during this time you cannot use Divine Shield or another buff. Shield of Vengeance is our first defensive tool, which is a small absorb shield that deals damage once it's depleted, but it can also be dispelled. And I guess everybody knows about our Kick, which is called Rebuke, and Bubble, which is our main defensive ability on a whopping 5-minute cooldown. And this also causes Forbearance. For poisons and diseases, we have Cleanse Toxins, again another ability that can be used on others apart from yourself. On the normal, the main talents, for tier 15 the most consistent choice is Final Verdict, as this will increase your Templar's Verdict damage by 20% and your Divine Storm by 10%, an all-around single and AoE damage buff. Execution Sentence can work in duels, but other than that it can be dispelled, so Consecration just doesn't add up as an AoE when compared to Divine Storm. On tier 13, in all arena scenarios, Zeal is the best option as it continuously adds cleave damage to the targets around your main target. When going into BGs, the solid choice is Greater Judgment, as this will apply your Judgment debuff to 2 additional targets and it will always crit on players that are above 50% health. Play a while with both of them in BGs and see what best fits you. Tier 45, hands down Fist of Justice. This is a strong 6-second stun with a cooldown of 1 minute, and with this talent you will be able to drop that cooldown by 2.5 seconds with every Holy Power spender you use. On average, you should have your stun ready every 30 to 40 seconds max. Repentance is a good CC, but the cast time for a melee cleave machine like yourself just isn't worth it. Blinding Light is also good, but again, the small radius and 1.5 minute cooldown just doesn't compare to Fist of Justice. Blade of Wrath is our optimal choice for tier 60 as Divine Hammer got nerfed a while back. It still does good AoE, but the amount of times Blade of Wrath resets itself is just too good to pass. Virtuous Blade doesn't really do any good as crit damage is normalized in the PvP template. As we are still looking at a melee heavy meta in arenas, Eye for an Eye is usually the go-to talent in tier 75 just because 1. It reduces physical damage by 35% and 2. It also hits back any melee attack for good damage while lasting 10 seconds. If not facing any melees, then Justicar Vengeance is a beast of an ability as it will hit hard and also heal you for the amount of damage you deal. Plus, if the target you hit is stunned, you will deal 100% more damage to it. Just remember that it consumes 5 holy powers. For tier 90, Divine Intervention is still the best choice, and I know a lot of people will yell that this is idiot proof, but really, nobody takes it for its auto bubble mechanic, but rather for the cooldown reduction by 20% for Divine Shield, and the fact that a killing blow will actually heal us for 20% of our max health. And for the last tier, we pick up Divine Purpose as this has a 20% chance to make our next Holy Power ability be free, and trust me, it procs quite often. So you're looking at free Templar Verdicts, Divine Storms and Justicar Vengeance. Crusade is also a viable choice, this acting sort of like a mini Bloodlust for Paladins, but you have to take note that in order for Crusade to be effective, you must have a lot of uptype on your targets. So, don't take this if you're facing off mages or hunters, stuff like that. For the PvP talents, on the first tier, Gladiator's Medallion is the best choice in general, as this will be your on-demand escape from CC tool. Particularly if you're an orc and you're facing a stun-heavy team, with monks and rogues probably, then Relentless is the go-to option as this will reduce any type of CC by 20%, adding on top of that the orc stun reduction ratio. On the second tier, you'll have to switch between Reinforced Armor if fighting a wizard team, this buffing your total health by 10%, or picking up Sparring if facing a melee team, as this will have a chance to reduce physical damage by 50%. In 2v2s with healers, Hardiness is quite great as you will mostly be above 80% health, and this talent will reduce all damage by 20%. Now on the third tier, I believe all 3 options are quite viable. Jurisdiction will increase the range of your Hammer of Justice by another 10 yards, making it much more unpredictable when you're trying to stun somebody who is far away. Unbound Freedom adds a 30% movement speed increase when you use Hand of Freedom, allowing you to catch up to a target much faster. And Law and Order will add a 70% slow for 3 seconds to your Blade of Justice. Dispelling the slow will reduce the cooldown of your Hand of Hindrance by 15 seconds. Really awesome. This is the one that I go to in 2v2s with a healer, but again, all 3 are quite viable and it really comes down to your preferred playstyle. In 3v3s, definitely Jurisdiction is the way to go. On the 4th tier, Luminescence is an awesome tool in arenas because when you get healed, allies will also get healed by 20% of that amount if they are in a max range of 20 yards. Cleansing Light is also good when facing those pesky assassination rogues or unholy death knights. One of the main reasons people consider Ret Paladins in their teams is Blessing of Sanctuary. You have to take this talent in arenas, no questions asked. Playing that utility card, Blessing of Sanctuary will remove any stun, fear, silence and horror effect from a friendly target, and it will also reduce by 60% the duration of any future effects of that type for the next 5 seconds. Your healer will love you for this talent. When in BGs, Vengeance Aura is strong as it will increase your crit chance and holy damage if your teammates with greater blessings from yourself become CC'd multiple times. Last but not least, Lawbringer is the go-to talent for the last tier because it will apply your Judgment debuff for 45 seconds to your main target. On top of all this, it will also add a dot amounting to 5% of the enemy's total health. The other 2 are not even worth mentioning. And now that we covered the abilities, mechanics and talent builds, let's look at the rotation. Right on, so for the first scenario on the rotation, we're gonna assume you can get up close and personal to your target. And you can start the rotation with Hammer of Justice, Wake of Ashes, Judgment, and then you can use your Templar's Verdict or Justicar Vengeance, depending on what you spec for it. Blade of Justice, Templar's Verdict, Zeal, then Zeal. Remember to use that Judgment, Templar's Verdict, Blade of Justice, Zeal, Templar's Verdict, another Zeal, and so on. You get the drift. This is like the main rotation for it. Now when bursting, you're gonna add wings to that as well. The only thing I wanted to talk about in this particular rotation is the second scenario where you cannot get really fast to your target, right? So let's say you're slowed or something like that. You just switch it up. You start off with Judgment first, then you can use your Divine Steed to get close, and then once again, Stun, Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict, Blade of Justice, Templar's Verdict, ooh, another Templar's Verdict, then you Zeal, Zeal, Blade of Justice, remember to judge, Templar's Verdict, Zeal, Templar's Verdict once again, Zeal, you can use now your Blade of Justice, and so on. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, like really fast, is the Blade of Justice usage, okay? We have a really nice ability, a passive ability on our Ashbringer, which is called Righteous Verdict. Now, what this does, it increases the damage of your Blade of Justice by 32%, but this happens only after you use a Holy Power Spender. So I've seen this mistake being done a lot, and it really affects your overall damage output. So instead of just spamming Blade of Justice all the time, be sure you always use it after you have like a Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm or Justicar Vengeance being used. So let me show you an example, right? Right now, I don't have that buff up, okay? So let's check out the damage for our Blade of Justice. That was 3.6 million, yeah? Let's wait for the cooldown, and once again, let's check it out. There's no more debuff or anything like that. Okay, 3.8 million, right? Now, let's use it after we use a Holy Spender. So I use here Templar's Verdict. Look at that, that's a crit, 9 million, okay? I'm gonna use again another Templar's Verdict, so let's see the buff. You can see it here on the top right, Righteous Verdict, yeah? Let's use it. Another crit, 9 million. let's see if we can get rid of the crits, okay? So, 5 million, normally without a crit. So the difference is close to 2 million, okay? Remember, because you're gonna get this proc a lot, and the general tendency is to use it, but you never use the Holy Power Spender prior to that, okay? So now with proc, I'm gonna use first my Templar's Verdict, then Blade of Justice, and see, 5 million. I'm gonna use it again now, 3 million, 3.8 million. A huge difference, and it really adds up to the overall damage and pressure you're gonna do in Arena, so do remember that. Also, remember that Blessing of Protection can also be used to remove physical CC such as Sap, Blind, Mighty Bash, Kidney Shot, and so on. Thank you very much for watching, and please let me know in the comments if this helped you in any way, or if you have any other suggestions. We read all the comments and we're more than happy to discuss it with you guys. Peace out.